How's it going, boys? Johnny Superb Man here, and I'm going to bring you guys another episode of What Do You Think About? Now, this one's going to be a bit different than the other ones that I've done. I got a comment in one of my prior videos asking me to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs for 20 minutes, and my goodness gracious, I could probably talk about the Leafs for over an hour, especially the way they're playing right now. So, again, this is going to be a What Do You Think About, so you guys can comment away on the Leafs. But this is going to be more of just a rant, okay? I mean, I got stats, but this is going to be more of like a rant. Coming from a true Leaf fan, okay? I mean, I got other teams in the league. I can't really judge as well because I just don't watch them as much. But the Leafs, I mean, every single game this year I watch, except for when Leafs TV decides to take more freaking money from us. We'll get into that, all right? But you know what? I've given up. I don't watch any of the games anymore because there's no competitiveness to it. All right, I actually look forward to them losing because I want to finish as far back as we can to help us get the best draft pick that we can. All right, I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs. We are the laughingstock of the NHL. It's absolutely ridiculous. Coming into this year, and I remember this is more of a rant. I don't know if these stats are 100% accurate, but I remember hearing something along the lines that the Leafs and the Florida Panthers were the only two teams left to have not made the playoffs after the lockout. And the lockout was in 04 and 05, I believe. Well, guess what? The Florida Panthers are going to the playoffs this year, which makes the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's right, the supposedly hockey center of the universe, or the center of the hockey universe, or whatever they want to call it. My God, the only team that has not made the playoffs since the 04-05 season, okay? Now, what the hell? Like, I've heard excuses. All right, I've seen different coaches come. I've seen different coaches go. I've seen different general managers come, most recently being Brian Burke. All right, I'm all for a rebuild. I understand that we were a good team, but it's getting ridiculous now. It is getting ridiculous. 7 seasons now, if you count the lockout without a playoff push, without a playoff appearance, sorry. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are the laughingstock of the NHL, all right? Here's another fun fact for you. The Toronto Maple Leafs have never played a game in June. You know why? Because when they won the Stanley Cup back in the damn 60s, all right, there weren't enough teams in the NHL. The playoffs ended in May. We have never, to this date, the Toronto Maple Leafs have never played a game in June, all right? Oh, my goodness gracious. Even when we were making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in the early 2000s, still no games in June. And I find that, I laugh at that, all right? Our team is just, absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know where to start here, all right? I mean, all right. We're going to get into this. Brian Burke. We're going to start with the man, Brian Burke. Now, I was a big-time believer of Brian Burke, you know, in his first, second, and even a little bit into this year when we were doing good. I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? He's got a hard job ahead of him here in Toronto. We traded away a bunch of draft picks. You know, I was making every excuse in the book for him. But here's the problem that I have with Brian Burke, all right? And I heard this on TSN, and it's perfect. It's just perfect for him. He was way too, and he is to this day still, way too loud and proud, okay? If you go back and watch some interviews in his first year and second year of the Toronto Maple Leafs, all right? He's saying things like, we don't need to rebuild. A 5-year rebuild is for general managers who just want a job for 5 years. They don't want any pressure, okay? I want to go out there and I want to give the fans the best team that we can as soon as possible, all right? Just blowing air up all the Toronto Maple Leafs fans' asses, all right? Just saying this, just saying that, all right? There's got to be 4 steps for a team. First, you got to crawl, then you got to walk, then you got to jog, and then you got to sprint. And we're right about ready to just sprint. Are you kidding me? We're not even moving, all right? We're still sleeping. That's how good of a freaking team we are. All right, we are what, second last in the East right now, 26th in the NHL with that team. All right, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, this guy, again, I would have more sympathy for him if he just came out and told us the truth instead of saying things like at the trade deadline, for example. Oh, I could have gotten 4 first-round picks this year, but I wanted to keep this team together because I thought that we could make a playoff push. Well, by coming out and saying that to everyone, and then fast forward a couple weeks, and we're, what, second last in the East? And you're telling me that you could have traded away our garbage that we call a team for 4 first-round picks, and you didn't take it? Well, that's an F. That's an F for general manager jobs. I'll chalk that up as an F. That's a big F. So that's what I mean about him being loud and proud, okay? He keeps on saying all these things. All right, we're turning the corner. We don't need to rebuild. I've put assets in the cupboard. That's why I could afford to give away the first-round picks for the Kessel trade. Everything that he said up to this day is pure bullshit, all right? Because once again, the Toronto Maple Leafs not in the playoffs. I mean, and you know what? Don Cherry says things like, it's because we're a team full of Americans. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon, all right? I really don't think that it matters where you come from. I mean, there are great American players out there. There are great Russians. There's great Swedish players. All right, it's not all about just getting players from Ontario. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. But I just hate how Brian Burke just keeps saying things over and over again. Like, we could have gotten John Tavares, but we didn't want to trade away Luke Schenn and Kadri. Well, you look stupid, don't you? All right, like, oh my God. Just go back and watch some interviews just from the past few years on Brian Burke and listen to the things he says about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And all of it, a complete lie. Well, it's not a lie, but it's just, he was wrong. All right, he obviously didn't know back then, but he's just wrong. He's just completely wrong. And then this year, he has the gall to come out and say, oh, this has never happened to me before. I've never seen a team fall off the edge like this. Well, now you're admitting that the team that you put together is a piece of crap, all right? You're not good at your job. For the first time in your career, you failed. Well, thank you for the first time in your career failing in Toronto, when you've promised us that we're going to be a good team, all right? With the assets that we have out there, we're going to be a good team. Bullshiza. Bullshiza, Brian Burke, all right? Now, Brian Burke's not going to get fired. He'll still be here, all right? We're going to, obviously, our ownership is going to keep him in. I don't even think that we should trade him away. I kind of like that he's getting all the heat on him, all right? I want to see what he does with this team because, you know, he is the kind of guy who's going to make some crazy trades. So in the offseason, something's going to happen. But Brian Burke, just shut your mouth, all right? Just do the interviews, shut your mouth, and get us to the playoffs, all right? Stop talking about how we're going to beat Detroit in next year's Winter Classic. Yeah, you're going to beat Detroit. You know what? Make the playoffs before you start saying stupid things like that, all right? That's my one problem with Brian Burke. He just talks way too much, and it's all bullshit, because here we are, his third or fourth year, and we still haven't made the playoffs, all right? We're progressively getting worse. We're worse than we were this year than we were last year, Brian. So good freaking job. Good job, and good job getting those 4 first-round picks at the trade deadline. Oh, my God. All right, I'll move on from Brian Burke. That's Brian Burke. Ron Wilson, you know, he got fired. Poor Ronnie, man. Poor Ronnie. I think Ron Wilson's coaching style was better for our team than Randy Carlyle's. I mean, at least when the Leafs lost with Ron Wilson, we were scoring goals. Now when we're losing with Randy Carlyle, we're getting beat like 5-1, 7-1. We're not scoring any freaking goals now, so not only are we losing, but it's boring as hell. You're hearing chants, let's go Blue Jays in the ACC. We haven't won a home game since February. We haven't won a home game since February. All right? Now, I don't want to put down other teams, all right? So please don't get mad at me for this, but, I mean, when you're talking about teams like Phoenix, Tampa Bay, Columbus, how much do you have to pay to go see a game for that? I mean, I've heard stories that the deals that they have, you know, you pay $25 to get in, you get like a free hot dog, a free drink, okay? You want to know how much you have to spend at a Toronto Maple Leafs game after 7 years of losing? They're still charging that much, all right? What do you say to the guys who pay $450 for a ticket? They go into the game and the team is just playing like absolute shit. Like, okay, if you want to go into the nosebleeds, all right, or if you're just going by yourself, you find a scalper, $100. All right, you have to spend at least $100 to go see a Leaf game, and I'm not even including parking. All right, if you want to buy something to eat, get a beverage, the ticket itself, a one-seater in the worst seat in the house, will be at least $100. Okay, and that's my problem. All this money, you have the biggest fan base in the end. Well, I won't say biggest fan base. All right, I won't go that far. You have a huge fan base. All right, definitely top 5, and you consistently keep screwing us over. And Leafs TV, are you kidding me on Leafs TV? Basically, if anyone doesn't know, out of the 82 games in the regular season, Leafs TV will have the rights to, I don't know, like 12 of them, all right? And you can't watch those games unless you order Leafs TV. So you're telling me that I got to pay money to watch a game on TV to watch my team not make the playoffs, all right? Not only can I not watch the games on TV, I got to pay for them, and I got to pay to see them miss the playoffs, all right? I mean, Maple Leafs Entertainment or whoever owns the goddamn Leafs, you should make it that for the next 5 years until we turn into a good freaking team, all games that are on Leafs TV should be free. You should do that for the fans, all right? I'm tired of paying for games or not being able to watch games because you know that you can make money off of us, all right? You know that even after 7 years of losing, you can still jack the prices up because you have a community that will live and die for hockey, okay? And you guys just keep taking advantage of us. Keep taking advantage. Just jacking up the prices everywhere. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insulting. Us Leaf fans should be a lot more angry. Fuck, I'm flustered right now, man. I told you this was going to be a rant. All right? I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. This was the first time I thought, oh my God, we actually do. We have a third line. This is unbelievable. The season's going good, and then what happens? I don't even know what happens, man. I'm not going to pretend like I'm part of the Leafs team or anything like that. But to me, it seems like we don't have any heart players. All right, if you go back to the Leafs teams when we were good, I mean, you think of players like, I'm not going to say Matt Sundin. He was a great captain. He was a special player, though. But we don't have any players like Darcy Tucker. All right, you can say Darcy Tucker was a dirty player, whatever, man. You put him out there, he had his angry face on. He would kill to win, all right? He's an energy player. We don't have anyone like that. A guy like Gary Roberts, all right, a power forward who took no prisoners, who went out there and played the game and led by example. We don't have any players like that. We don't have any players like Doug Gilmour. We don't have any players like Wendell Clark who will go out there and it's all about hockey. We have a bunch of kids who just falter under the pressure, all right? Then you get them on camera afterwards and you say, hey, what's going wrong? What's with the slide? Well, no comments. I don't know. It's just not working out right now. I don't know. It's we're losing as a team. It's just, it's the stupidest interviews I've ever heard. No one takes responsibility. No one points out what's going wrong. It's just some little kids who don't know how to talk on front of the camera. And I'm okay with that. But if you're going to be the captain, speaking about talking on front of the camera, Dion Phaneuf, are you kidding me? I could talk faster than this guy if I had half a brain. Okay, listen, I'm not going to get on him for that, all right? I mean, everyone's different. But to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, all right, you need to be able to talk on front of the camera. I'm sorry. We need a player like Jeremy Roenick to be our captain, okay? That's just how it is. When I hear Dion Phaneuf spew his bullshit on why we're not winning and then get angry at the reporters and ask questions back because he doesn't like the questions that are coming his way, I mean, good God. Or Luke Schenn. Now, I'm still on the Luke Schenn bandwagon. I mean, a lot of people are already throwing this guy under the bus. I think he's going to be a good defender. He's still young, and I actually do like how this guy talks on front of the camera. But he was asked a question, what do you say to the fan that spends over $400 to come and see this? He says no comment. No comment? You have no comment? You're going to go out there and play like that and then just come to and say to everyone who pays all this money, everyone who watches the game, no comment? You can go to hell, buddy. You better have a comment. All right, what's that word I'm looking for? I want accountability from these players. I want players to say things like, yeah, we're playing like fucking shit right now, and it's because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or our defense is doing... I want players to call out other players, all right? I want there to be confrontations in the locker room so that everyone is accountable for their own actions. Everyone's just playing right now like, oh, it's... I'm trying my hardest, but as a team, we're just not pulling it together. Like, fucking man up, all right? Good God almighty. So, I mean, again, this is more of a rant, but, I mean, I'm looking at our stats here, and, Phil Kessel, I mean, great player. Yeah, he is a good player, but he's so one-dimensional, right? He's got 77 points this year. Oh, that's pretty good. 77 points in 78 games. Well, guess what? He's a minus 12. With that amount of points, he's still at a minus 12. Are you kidding me? This is what I mean about one-dimensional. He's fast, he's got a great wrist shot, and he's got good vision, and he can pass it. All right, he's an underrated passer. I'll give him that. But he doesn't have any moves. He doesn't dangle. He uses his speed to get to the outside, then he throws it on the net, or he'll make a good pass. All right, that part of his game is fine. But he's not big, doesn't use the body, goes around slashing people. All right, in the defensive end, he's horrible. All right, I mean, good God. He just can't get the puck out from the point. He's a small body. All right, so he's not a game breaker. All right, he's almost there, but he's not a game breaker. He's not someone who's going to pick up your team and just run with it. All right, he's not a Joe Thornton. He's not a Jonathan Taves. He's not a Sidney Crosby. God, I shouldn't call him Cindy, man. This guy's outstanding. Whatever. It was a typo. Or whatever. Jesus Christ. Anyways, Phil Kessel. Again, 77 points, minus 12. Ridiculous. Okay, no excuse. Here's another fun stat for you guys. There's only 1 or 2 players on the Toronto Maple Leafs with a plus rating. Can you guess them? Joffrey Lupul, who I have nothing against. Joffrey Lupul is a great freaking player. Not only is he offensively gifted, but he throws his body around. He back checks like a beast. All right, Joffrey Lupul, and he's good on the camera too. He says things like, "Yeah, I had a bad game, but I'm gonna change that." You know, like, just Joffrey Lupul, I have no problem with him. He's +1. I mean, it's not that much of a plus. All right, but all I'm saying is Phil Kessel has 10 more points than Joffrey Lupul, but he's a minus 12. Joffrey Lupul's a +1. Guess who the second player is? Nikolai Kulemin, +2. Now, I know Nick Kulemin hasn't had the greatest year compared to what he had last year, but he's not the problem, okay? Put him on the third line. He's still a good player. He still tries hard, all right? I mean, I got no problem with Kulemin. But here's the players that have got to go, all right? First of all, Grabowski. Grabowski can stay. I mean, you can argue his salary cap is way too much now, but I think Grabowski behind a #1 center would be a good second-line center. I have no problem with Grabowski as a second-line center, okay? So we'll leave Grabowski. Bozak, again, he kind of falls into the same category as Grabowski for me. He does win faceoffs. He's actually a good faceoff man. Again, he would fit into a perfect second-line, maybe even third-line center, all right? It looks like him and Kessel do have some chemistry together, but the problem I have with Bozak is it's almost like he always tries to get the puck to Kessel, all right? He'll always be looking to pass the puck to Kessel instead of sometimes going at the net himself, taking a shot, all right? So that's what I mean. He'd be a perfect second-line or third-line center if we had a amazing first line, all right? Dion Phaneuf, the guy tries, but he's not a captain. He shouldn't be our captain. He's more of an offensive defenseman. I mean, this guy has defensive lapse after defensive lapse. He really does. I'm not going to go farther than that. He's not our biggest problem, but he's not our captain. He's not captain material. All right, if you're going to name a defenseman a captain, he needs to be like a Chris Pronger, a Scott Niedermayer, a Scott Stevens, a Nicholas Lidstrom. And Phaneuf, I'm sorry, or a Zdeno Chara. All right, Phaneuf, you do not fall into that category. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. You make 6.5 mil or whatever. Take it. Tim Connolly, you've got to go. All right, biggest waste of money I've ever seen. Clark MacArthur, we picked him up on waivers, so I mean, we didn't spend anything for him. But Brian Burke, you've said like twice last year and this year that we could have traded him for a first-round pick. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. He's another Phil Kessel, just not as talented. All right, small body, doesn't use the body. Blind passes here, blind passes there, turnover. Not good in the defensive end. Get him out of here. All right, Kulemin, you can say Jake Gardner. Jake Gardner, man, the diamond in the rough. But ever since we started playing with Carlisle, it's like this guy can't wheel and deal anymore. He can't use his legs. He can't use his puck-moving skills to get it up the ice. All right? When we had Ron Wilson, you saw Jake Gardner skating up the ice with the puck, and he was great. But now with Randy Carlisle, it's chip and chase. Get it out of here, boys. Get it up. And he's like, it's almost like he's a shell of who he once was earlier in the season. He just doesn't move. He doesn't try things. So Jake Gardner, he's got to stay. But I'm just saying, like, I don't like him in the new system with Carlisle. John Michael Lyles, nothing special. I mean, just average. And for the salary that he's making, he's playing below his salary right now. So just average. Joey Crabb, no problem with him. Cody Franzen, I got no problem with him. He's a big body. We picked him up in a great trade. I have no problem with Cody Franzen. Luke Schenn, he's young. Got to keep Luke Schenn. Don't have a problem with Luke Schenn. It's just got to grow up. Just got to get our defensemen all together. They've got to work better together. You know, I'm not going to blame our defensemen. I know how hard it is to play defense. Carl Gunnarsson, he can stay. Matthew Lombardi didn't do anything for us this year. All right, he's fast. Yeah, he's got some wheels, but he's not a big body. He plays on the third line. He's not a big body. If he's not a big body, he should be scoring goals, and he's not scoring goals. Lombardi, you can go. Steckel, you can stay. You're a good face-off man. Fratton, young guy. Kadri, another plus player for us, but we keep sending him down. So Mike Komisarek, oh God, get him out of here. He's going to be on our team for another 2 years. No team's going to want that salary. Get him out of here. Colby Armstrong only played 26 games this year. All right, so I mean, more than half of our team should get the hell out of Toronto. We have a bunch of second-line players. We don't have a first line. I mean, Phil Kessel, Joffrey Lupul, and Bozak, they were doing good. But, again, Kessel and Bozak, I don't know. Kessel's a first-liner. Bozak's not. Lupul's a first-liner. We need that first-line center. We really do. We really, really do. And goaltenders, you know, I'm not going to throw the goalies under the bus. Goaltender is the hardest position to play in hockey, and it's unforgiving if your team is doing bad. Reimer, you know, I'm not saying he's amazing, but he got left hanging out to dry. If you watch the games where we get blown out, you can't blame James Reimer. When you have to deal with 4 cross-crease goals, a snipe from the slot, you know, 10 feet away from the net, no one's pressuring him, that's not the goalie's fault, all right? Now, Gustafsson, he's not the greatest goalie. He'll have his good games, right? But then all of a sudden he'll let in just the shittiest goal. And there's nothing more deflating to a team when a goalie lets in a bad goal. So Gustafsson, he can go, but Reimer, boys, anyone who says James Reimer sucks, listen, it's not James Reimer's fault. It's our defensemen, all right? We're allowing way too many chances, way too many high percentage chances every single game. Go back and watch James Reimer's games, man. Cross-crease goal, cross-crease goal. What, you want him doing spread eagle saves like 5 times a period? It's not going to happen, man. So James Reimer, don't have a problem with you. But the players that I named, man, are minus players. We need some defensively minded players. Not all these little offensively blind pass here, blind pass there. I don't want to body check anyone. I don't want to fight anyone. We got to get rid of those players, all right? Phil Kessel, he can get away with it because he's talented. But other than Phil, we need to get rid of Clark MacArthur, Connolly, Lombardi, all right? All these players, man, they just got to go. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm embarrassed to call myself a Leafs fan. These guys get paid millions of dollars a year, so I don't care about being mean. All right, they deserve it because when the season's over, they're going to go back home and they're going to do what they want to do, all right? So I could care less. You want to play in Toronto, you got to deal with it. All right, when you guys are losing, yeah, you guys are going to get ridiculed like none others. But listen, if you guys just started winning, all right, and if you got Leaf Nation behind you, you guys would go down as legends. All right, you'd be remembered for all time, okay? That's the risk and reward here in Toronto. If you're not going to produce, yeah, you're going to get a chance like go Blue Jays during the games. But if you guys start winning, man, you'll be remembered like none other. So there's my rants. I know this is not really a what do you think about video, but basically, guys, what do you think about the Toronto Maple Leafs? Just, I mean, when are we going to make it back to the playoffs? Another 5 years? I mean, should we start the 5-year rebuild right now, Brian Burke? I know you didn't need one 3 years ago, but now, 3 years later, still not in the playoffs. Maybe we should start that 5-year rebuild. I don't know. I don't know. I'm embarrassed to call myself a Leaf fan. I'm embarrassed, and I don't watch them anymore. So, until next year, won't be watching the Leafs, and I hope they lose every single game for the rest of the season so we can get the best draft pick that we can. All right, Leaf Nation, I know. Oh, my God. Whatever.